Abused dog escapes cruel owner. Then he does the unthinkable 2 years later. The stench of stale beer and cigarette smoke hung heavy in the air, clinging to the threadbare carpet and cracked walls of the cramped apartment. Shadow, a young Labrador retriever with a coat the color of burnt caramel, cowered in the corner, his body trembling, his tail tucked between his legs. His owner, Jake, a burly man with a permanent scowl etched on his face, stumbled across the room, his bloodshot eyes fixed on Shadow. "You worthless mutt," he slurred, his voice thick with alcohol and anger. "You messed on the floor again." Shadow whimpered, his ears flattened against his head, his body shrinking further into the shadows. He knew what was coming. The belt would come off, the buckle glinting menacingly in the dim light, and the pain would follow, sharp and searing against his ribs. Jake lunged forward, the belt whistling through the air. Shadow yelped, his body instinctively curling into a protective ball. The blows landed with a sickening thud, each strike sending a jolt of pain through his young body. "There," Jake snarled, his breath reeking of alcohol. "That'll teach you." He stumbled out of the room, leaving Shadow whimpering in the darkness. Shadow lay trembling, his body aching, his spirit broken. He didn't understand why Jake hated him so much. He longed for a kind word, a gentle touch, a moment of affection. But all he received was neglect, abuse, and isolation. He had been a gift from Jake's ex-girlfriend, a playful puppy with boundless energy and a heart full of love. But when the girlfriend left, taking her love and laughter with her, Shadow became a target for Jake's misplaced anger and frustration. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the pattern of abuse continued. Shadow lived in a constant state of fear, his meals sporadic, his walks non-existent, his only companions the shadows that danced across the walls of his prison. He yearned for freedom, for a life beyond the confines of the dingy apartment, for a human who would see the love in his eyes and the gentleness in his heart. He dreamed of open fields, chasing squirrels, and the warmth of a kind hand stroking his fur. But for now, he was trapped, a prisoner of Jake's cruelty, his spirit slowly withering under the weight of abuse and neglect. He was a shadow of his former self, his playful puppyhood a distant memory, his future uncertain, his hope fading with each passing day. One sweltering summer afternoon, a glimmer of hope appeared in the form of a forgotten window. Jake, in his drunken stupor, had stumbled out of the apartment, leaving the window ajar. A gentle breeze wafted through the opening, carrying with it the sense of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers, scents that were foreign to Shadow's senses, yet filled him with a yearning for something more. He crept towards the window, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. He had never been outside the apartment, never experienced the world beyond the confines of his prison. He hesitated, his instincts warning him of the unknown dangers that lay beyond the windowsill. But the yearning for freedom, for a life beyond the pain and neglect, overrode his fear. He gathered his courage, took a deep breath, and leaped through the opening. He landed with a thud on the fire escape, his paws scrambling for purchase on the rusty metal grating. He looked around, his senses overwhelmed by the sights and sounds of the bustling city. The honking cars, the chattering pedestrians, the towering buildings, all were a stark contrast to the quiet confines of his prison. He took a tentative step, his body trembling with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. He was free. He navigated the fire escape, his instincts guiding him downwards. He reached the alleyway, its shadows offering a temporary refuge from the overwhelming stimuli of the city. He sniffed the ground, his nose twitching, his senses bombarded with new and unfamiliar scents. He wandered through the alleyways, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. He scavenged for scraps of food, his hunger gnawing at his stomach. He dodged the occasional passerby, his body tense, his senses alert to any potential threat. He was lost, alone, and vulnerable, but he was also free. He had escaped the clutches of his abuser, and he was determined to survive, to find a place where he could finally feel safe and loved. As the sun began to set, Casting long shadows across the city streets, Shadow stumbled upon a small park. He cautiously entered, his senses alert to any danger. He saw children playing, their laughter echoing through the twilight air. He saw families picnicking, their conversations filled with warmth and affection. He saw dogs playing fetch with their owners, their tails wagging with joy. He watched them from a distance, his heart aching with a longing he couldn't quite understand. He had never experienced such joy, such connection, such unconditional love. He curled up under a park bench, his body shivering despite the warm summer air. He was exhausted, hungry, and alone. But as he drifted off to sleep, a glimmer of hope flickered in his heart. He had escaped the darkness, and he was determined to find his way to the light. The morning sun, filtering through the leaves of the ancient oak trees, cast dappled shadows across the park. Shadow awoke with a start, his body stiff and sore, his stomach growling with hunger. He cautiously emerged from his makeshift shelter, his senses alert to any potential danger. He saw a group of children playing on the swings, their laughter echoing through the crisp morning air. He watched them with a mixture of curiosity and longing, his tail giving a tentative wag. He had never played with children, never experienced the joy of a carefree game. He saw a young couple strolling hand in hand, their faces lit by smiles of affection. He watched them with a pang of envy, his heart aching for a connection he had never known. He saw an elderly woman sitting on a park bench, her gaze fixed on a book, her face etched with a gentle sadness. He was drawn to her, her aura of quiet kindness resonating with his own yearning for compassion. He cautiously approached her, his tail wagging hesitantly, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The woman looked up, her gaze meeting his. Her eyes, the color of faded denim, held a depth of kindness that melted Shadow's fear. "Well, hello there," she said softly, her voice a gentle melody. "You look lost, little one." Shadow wagged his tail a bit more confidently, his body relaxing slightly. He nudged her hand with his nose, seeking a connection, a touch of reassurance. The woman, her heart touched by his gentle demeanor, reached out and stroked his fur. Shadow leaned into her touch, his body trembling with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "You're a sweet boy, aren't you?" she murmured, her fingers gently tracing the scars that marred his coat. She noticed the gauntness of his frame, the dullness of his fur, the sadness in his eyes. She knew instinctively that this dog had known hardship, that he was in need of kindness and care. "Are you hungry?" she asked softly. Shadow responded with a hopeful whine and a lick to her hand. The woman, whose name was Emily, smiled warmly. "Come on then," she said, rising from the bench. "Let's get you some breakfast." Emily lived in a small apartment overlooking the park. She led Shadow inside, her heart filled with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. She had lived alone since her husband passed away a decade ago, her days filled with quiet routine and a lingering loneliness. She had always loved animals, but her apartment building didn't allow pets. Now, fate had brought this gentle creature to her doorstep, a lost soul in need of a loving home. She prepared a bowl of food for Shadow, watching with a smile as he devoured it with gusto. She then filled a bowl with fresh water, observing his eagerness to quench his thirst. The Shadow ate. Emily examined him more closely. She noticed the numerous scars on his body, the telltale signs of abuse and neglect. Her heart ached for him, for the pain he had endured. She knew she couldn't let him go back to that life. She would take care of him, she decided, provide him with the love and safety he deserved. Shadow, sensing her kindness and compassion, rested his head on her lap, his eyes filled with gratitude. In that moment, a bond was formed, a connection between two lonely souls, a shared journey of healing and companionship. Emily's small apartment, once filled with the quiet echoes of solitude, now resonated with the soft patting of paws and the occasional happy bark. Shadow bathed and fed, explored his new surroundings with cautious curiosity. He sniffed the worn armchair, the faded rug, the overflowing bookshelf. He curled up on the sun-drenched window seat, gazing out at the bustling street below, his tail thumping a gentle rhythm against the cushion. Emily watched him with a warmth that spread through her chest, chasing away the lingering chill of loneliness. She had never owned a dog before, her life with her late husband filled with the demands of his career and her own nursing shifts. Now, in her retirement, she had the time and the space to dedicate to this gentle creature who had stumbled into her life. She took Shadow for a walk in the park, his initial nervousness giving way to joyful exploration. He sniffed every blade of grass, every tree trunk, every passing dog with wide-eyed curiosity. He chased squirrels with playful abandon, his barks echoing through the leafy canopy. Emily, her heart lighter than it had been in years, smiled at his antics. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, a responsibility to nurture this wounded soul back to health and happiness. Back at the apartment, she set about creating a comfortable space for Shadow. She purchased a soft dog bed, a colorful array of toys, and a sturdy leash for their walks. She even rearranged her furniture to create more space for him to play and explore. Shadow, overwhelmed by the sudden abundance of affection and attention, responded with an outpouring of love. He followed Emily everywhere, his tail wagging constantly, his eyes shining with gratitude. He would rest his head on her lap as she read, his soft snores a comforting lullaby. He would greet her at the door with excited barks and joyful leaps, his enthusiasm infectious. Emily, in turn, showered him with affection. She brushed his fur until it gleamed, massaged his sore muscles, and whispered words of love and encouragement. She spoke to him as she went about her daily chores, her voice a soothing balm to his anxious heart. She noticed, however, that Shadow still bore the scars of his past abuse. He flinched at sudden movements, cowered when she raised her voice, and sometimes whimpered in his sleep. She knew that healing from trauma took time, patience, and unwavering love. She enrolled Shadow in obedience classes, hoping to build his confidence and strengthen their bond. She practiced basic commands with him, rewarding him with praise and treats for every success. She socialized him with other dogs, carefully introducing him to gentle and playful companions. Slowly, gradually, Shadow began to heal. His fear subsided, his trust grew, his playful spirit reemerged. He blossomed under Emily's care, his coat regaining its luster, his eyes sparkling with joy, his tail wagging with a newfound confidence. Emily, witnessing his transformation, felt a deep sense of satisfaction and love. She had rescued Shadow from a life of misery, and he, in turn, had rescued her from the clutches of loneliness. They had found each other, two lost souls brought together by fate, their bond a testament to the healing power of compassion and companionship. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Emily and Shadow strolled through the park, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Jake, his face gaunt and unshaven, his eyes bloodshot, approached them with a menacing swagger. "There you are, you mutt," he snarled, his voice slurring slightly. "Thought you could run away from me, did you?" Shadow, recognizing his former abuser, instinctively cowered behind Emily, his tail tucked between his legs, his body trembling. Emily, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anger, stepped forward, shielding Shadow with her body. "He's not yours anymore," she said firmly, her voice shaking slightly. "Leave him alone." Jake scoffed. "He's my dog," he growled. "I paid for him. He's coming home with me." He lunged towards Shadow, his hand outstretched. Shadow yelped, shrinking further behind Emily. Emily, her protective instincts kicking in, raised her voice. "No," she shouted, her voice echoing through the park. "Get away from him." A few passers-by, alerted by the commotion, stopped to observe the confrontation. A young couple with a stroller, a group of teenagers playing frisbee, an elderly man walking his poodle. They all watched with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Jake, sensing the growing attention, hesitated. He didn't want to cause a scene, didn't want to attract the attention of the authorities. He had been in trouble with the law before, and he didn't want to risk another run-in. He glared at Emily, his eyes filled with malice. "You'll regret this," he snarled. "He's my dog, and I'll get him back." He turned and stalked away, his footsteps echoing through the quiet park. Emily watched him go, her heart still pounding, her body trembling with adrenaline. Shadow, sensing the danger had passed, emerged from behind Emily, his tail wagging tentatively. He licked her hand, his eyes filled with gratitude and a lingering fear. Emily knelt beside him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "It's okay, Shadow," she whispered, her voice soothing and reassuring. "You're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore." But Emily knew that Jake's threat was not to be taken lightly. She needed to protect Shadow, to ensure his safety and prevent Jake from reclaiming him. She decided to seek help, to enlist the support of her community and the legal system. She contacted the local animal shelter, explaining her situation and seeking advice. The shelter staff, appalled by Jake's behavior, offered their assistance. They provided her with information about animal cruelty laws, connected her with a pro bono lawyer specializing in animal rights, and even offered to temporarily foster Shadow if necessary. Emily also reached out to her neighbors, sharing her story and seeking their support. Her neighbors, touched by her compassion and Shadow's gentle nature, rallied around her. They offered to keep an eye out for Jake, to accompany her on walks, and to provide witness statements if needed. Emily, feeling the warmth of community support, felt a renewed sense of strength and determination. She would fight for Shadow, she decided, protect him from his abuser, and ensure that he never experienced such cruelty again. The encounter with Jake left Emily shaken but resolute. She couldn't ignore the threat he posed to Shadow's safety and well-being. The next morning, she contacted the lawyer the shelter had recommended, a woman named Sarah Miller who specialized in animal rights cases. Sarah, a petite woman with fiery red hair and a determined glint in her eyes, listened intently to Emily's story. She was appalled by Jake's cruelty and reassured Emily that she would do everything in her power to protect Shadow. "We need to file a restraining order against this man," Sarah stated, her voice firm and confident. "We also need to gather evidence of his abuse to ensure he can't reclaim Shadow." Emily, though hesitant at first, agreed. She knew that legal action was necessary to protect Shadow and hold Jake accountable for his actions. With Sarah's guidance, Emily documented the evidence of Shadow's abuse. She photographed his scars, gathered veterinary records, and even obtained statements from neighbors who had witnessed Jake's mistreatment of Shadow. The legal process was slow and arduous, filled with paperwork, court appearances, and emotional turmoil. Emily, though overwhelmed at times, remained steadfast in her commitment to protect Shadow. She found strength in Sarah's unwavering support, the kindness of her neighbors, and the unwavering love of Shadow himself. Shadow, sensing the tension and uncertainty, remained close to Emily's side. He would follow her around the apartment, his eyes filled with concern, his tail wagging tentatively. He would rest his head on her lap as she worked on legal documents, his soft snores a comforting counterpoint to the stress of the situation. He seemed to understand that they were fighting for him, that they were trying to protect him from the darkness of his past. He responded with an outpouring of love and gratitude, his gentle nature and unwavering loyalty a constant source of strength for Emily. The court date finally arrived, and Emily, accompanied by Sarah and a few supportive neighbors, entered the courtroom with a mixture of apprehension and determination. Jake, looking disheveled and defiant, sat across from them, his gaze fixed on Shadow with a mixture of anger and possessiveness. The judge, a stern-looking woman with a reputation for fairness, listened intently as Sarah presented their case. She detailed the evidence of Shadow's abuse, highlighting the physical and emotional scars he bore. She argued that Jake was unfit to own an animal and that Shadow deserved a safe and loving home with Emily. Jake, when given the opportunity to speak, denied the accusations, claiming that Shadow's injuries were accidental and that Emily had stolen his dog. He portrayed himself as a victim, a man wrongly accused, his voice laced with self-pity and indignation. The judge, however, was unconvinced. She had seen the evidence, heard the testimonies, and observed the genuine love and concern in Emily's eyes. She ruled in favor of Emily, granting her full custody of Shadow and issuing a restraining order against Jake. A wave of relief washed over Emily as she heard the verdict. She embraced Sarah, tears of joy streaming down her face. She looked at Shadow, who was wagging his tail excitedly, his eyes shining with happiness. He was free. The courtroom erupted in applause as Emily and Shadow left the courthouse, their supporters cheering and congratulating them. Shadow, basking in the attention, lapped up the praise and affection, his tail wagging furiously. Emily, her heart filled with gratitude and love, looked at Shadow, her loyal companion, her furry hero. "We did it, Shadow," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "We're finally safe." The court victory was a turning point for both Emily and Shadow. A weight lifted from their shoulders, replaced by a newfound sense of freedom and security. Shadow, no longer living under the shadow of fear, blossomed into a confident and playful dog. His anxieties faded, his trust in humans restored, his spirit soaring with the joy of a life filled with love and stability. Emily, witnessing his transformation, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had not only rescued Shadow from a life of misery, but she had also discovered a renewed sense of purpose in her own life. She enrolled Shadow in a therapy dog program, recognizing his gentle nature and intuitive ability to connect with people in need. After completing the program with flying colors, Shadow became a regular visitor at local hospitals and nursing homes. He brought smiles to the faces of patients weary from illness, offered comfort to those struggling with loneliness, and sparked conversations with those yearning for connection. He had a knack for sensing who needed him most, his presence a calming balm, his gentle nudges and soft fur a source of comfort and joy. He would sit patiently by bedsides, listening to stories of lives lived and loves lost. He would offer a furry head to stroke, a warm body to lean against, a wet nose to nudge away a tear. Emily, watching Shadow work his magic, felt a surge of pride. She had witnessed the depths of his resilience, the transformative power of love, and the remarkable capacity of animals to heal and connect with humans on a profound level. Shadow's reputation as a therapy dog spread throughout the community. He was invited to schools, libraries, and even the local police station, where he offered comfort to officers dealing with the stresses of their jobs. He became a local celebrity, his story a testament to the power of second chances and the enduring spirit of animals. Emily, inspired by Shadow's impact, became an advocate for animal welfare. She volunteered at the local shelter, fostering dogs in need of temporary homes and educating potential adopters about responsible pet ownership. She shared her story at community events, raising awareness about animal cruelty and encouraging people to speak up for those who couldn't speak for themselves. She even started a small foundation in Shadow's name, providing financial assistance to low-income families struggling to care for their pets and supporting local rescue organizations dedicated to finding loving homes for abandoned and abused animals. Shadow and Emily, once two lonely souls brought together by fate, became a beacon of hope for their community. They demonstrated the healing power of compassion, the transformative power of love, and the enduring strength of the human-animal bond. Their story, a testament to the resilience of the spirit and the power of second chances, inspired countless others to open their hearts and homes to animals in need, creating a ripple effect of kindness that spread far beyond their small corner of the world. As Shadow's fame grew, so did Emily's reputation as a compassionate advocate for animal welfare. She was invited to speak at conferences, sharing her and Shadow's story with audiences across the country. She emphasized the importance of recognizing the signs of animal abuse, reporting suspected cases, and supporting organizations dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating animals in need. She also stressed the importance of education, advocating for the inclusion of animal welfare topics in school curricula. She believed that by fostering empathy and compassion for animals in young minds, they could create a generation that valued and protected all living creatures. Shadow, ever by her side, became a symbol of resilience and the healing power of love. He would often accompany Emily to her speaking engagements, his presence a calming influence on the audience and a testament to the transformative power of human-animal connection. He would patiently sit at Emily's feet as she spoke, his gentle eyes scanning the crowd, his tail wagging softly. He would greet audience members with a gentle nudge and a lick to the hand, his warmth and affection disarming even the most skeptical hearts. One day, Emily received an invitation to speak at a national animal welfare conference. She was honored and excited, recognizing the opportunity to reach a wider audience and amplify her message of compassion and advocacy. She prepared her speech with care, weaving together her personal experiences with Shadow, the stories of other rescued animals, and the statistics that highlighted the prevalence of animal abuse. She practiced her delivery, ensuring her voice conveyed both the urgency of the issue and the hope that change was possible. The day of the conference arrived, and Emily, accompanied by Shadow, stood before a packed auditorium. She took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping across the sea of faces, her heart filled with a mixture of nervousness and determination. She began her speech, her voice clear and steady, her words resonating with the audience. She shared her story of finding Shadow, his journey from trauma to healing, and the profound impact he had had on her life. She spoke of the countless animals suffering in silence, victims of neglect, abuse, and abandonment. She urged the audience to become advocates for those who couldn't speak for themselves, to report suspected cases of abuse, and to support organizations dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating animals in need. She concluded her speech with a call to action, urging the audience to become ambassadors for animal welfare, to educate their communities, and to inspire the next generation to value and protect all living creatures. The audience responded with a standing ovation, their applause echoing through the auditorium. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she acknowledged their support, her heart filled with gratitude and hope. Shadow, sensing her emotions, nudged her hand with his nose, his eyes filled with love and pride. He had been by her side throughout her journey, a constant source of strength and inspiration. Together, they had become a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of hope for a world in need of compassion and understanding. The national conference proved to be a catalyst for change. Emily's story, amplified by the media attention surrounding the event, touched hearts and sparked conversations across the country. People were moved by her compassion, inspired by Shadow's resilience, and motivated to take action against animal cruelty. Donations poured into Emily's foundation, allowing her to expand her reach and support even more animal welfare initiatives. She partnered with shelters and rescue organizations, providing funding for medical care, rehabilitation programs, and educational outreach. She also collaborated with lawmakers, advocating for stricter animal cruelty laws and increased penalties for offenders. Shadow, now a national icon, continued his work as a therapy dog, his presence bringing comfort and joy to countless individuals. He became a regular fixture at schools, libraries, and community events, his gentle nature and unwavering love a testament to the healing power of the human-animal bond. He even received an invitation to visit the White House, where he met the President and First Lady, charming them with his gentle demeanor and playful antics. His visit sparked a national conversation about the importance of animal welfare and the role that pets play in our lives. Emily and Shadow's story was adapted into a children's book, beautifully illustrated and filled with heartwarming messages about compassion, resilience, and the power of friendship. The book became a bestseller, translated into multiple languages, and shared in classrooms and libraries around the world. Their story also caught the attention of a Hollywood producer, who saw the potential for a heartwarming film that would resonate with audiences of all ages. Emily and Shadow were consulted throughout the filmmaking process, ensuring their story was portrayed with authenticity and sensitivity. The film, titled Shadow's Light, became a box office hit, touching hearts and inspiring audiences to embrace compassion and stand up against injustice. It received critical acclaim, earning awards for its heartwarming story, compelling performances, and powerful message. Emily and Shadow's legacy extended far beyond their individual lives. They sparked a movement of compassion, inspiring countless individuals to open their hearts and homes to animals in need. They demonstrated the transformative power of love, the resilience of the human-animal bond, and the enduring impact that one person and one dog can have on the world. And so, the story of Shadow, the abused dog who found love and purpose, became a timeless tale, whispered on the wind, carried through the hearts of those he touched, and etched in the annals of history as a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the unwavering spirit of hope. Even after Emily and Shadow passed away, their legacy continued to ripple through the world. The foundation they established thrived, funding animal shelters, supporting rescue organizations, and advocating for animal welfare legislation. Their story became a staple in school curriculums, inspiring generations of children to embrace compassion and stand up for the voiceless. The film Shadow's Light remained a beloved classic, its message of hope and resilience resonating with audiences of all ages. It was often screened at schools, community centers, and even prisons, where it sparked conversations about redemption, second chances, and the transformative power of love. The impact of Emily and Shadow's story extended beyond human society, influencing the way people interacted with the natural world. Their example inspired a deeper understanding of animal sentience, leading to more ethical treatment of animals in research, agriculture, and entertainment. Their story also fueled the growth of animal-assisted therapy programs, with dogs like Shadow bringing comfort and healing to individuals struggling with physical and emotional challenges. Hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers embrace the therapeutic benefits of animal companionship, recognizing the profound impact that a furry friend could have on the healing process. In the quiet corners of the world, where stray animals once roamed forgotten and neglected, a new wave of compassion emerged. Communities established shelters, implemented trap-neuter release programs, and organized adoption events, ensuring that every animal had a chance to find a loving home. The ripple effect of Emily and Shadow's story touched the lives of countless animals, offering them a second chance at happiness and a life free from suffering. Their legacy became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a more compassionate and just world for all living creatures. And so, the story of the abused dog who found love and purpose transcended the boundaries of time and space, its message of resilience, compassion, and the enduring power of the human-animal bond echoing through the ages, inspiring generations to come. The story of Emily and Shadow, once a local tale of resilience and compassion, evolved into a global phenomenon. Their story transcended cultural and linguistic barriers, its message of hope resonating with people from all walks of life. In bustling metropolises and remote villages, statues were erected in their honor, depicting Emily with her gentle smile and Shadow with his loyal gaze. Parks were named after them, offering safe havens for dogs to play and people to connect with nature. Schools incorporated their story into their curriculum, teaching children about empathy, responsibility, and the importance of protecting vulnerable creatures. Artists from around the world found inspiration in their bond, creating murals, sculptures, and theatrical productions that celebrated their story. Musicians composed symphonies and operas that captured the emotional depth of their journey, the music echoing the themes of despair, hope, and redemption. Their story even sparked a new wave of philosophical and spiritual exploration, with scholars and theologians examining the profound connection between humans and animals, the nature of compassion, and the meaning of life in the context of interspecies relationships. The ripple effects of their story extended to the scientific community, where researchers delved into the psychological and physiological benefits of the human-animal bond. Studies confirmed the therapeutic effects of animal companionship, leading to the development of innovative treatments for anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress. The technological world also embraced their legacy, with developers creating virtual reality experiences that allowed users to immerse themselves in Emily and Shadow's world, fostering empathy and understanding of animal welfare issues. Artificial intelligence programs were designed to detect and prevent animal abuse, using algorithms to identify patterns of neglect and alert authorities to potential cases of cruelty. The impact of their story reached the highest levels of government, with world leaders citing Emily and Shadow as inspirations for policies promoting animal welfare and environmental protection. International summits were held to address the global issue of animal cruelty, with delegates from around the world collaborating on legislation and initiatives to protect all living creatures. And so, the story of the abused dog who found love and purpose became a catalyst for change, transforming the way humans interacted with animals and with each other. It was a story that echoed through the corridors of history, its message of compassion and resilience shaping a more just and compassionate world for generations to come. The legacy of Emily and Shadow extended beyond the confines of Earth, reaching into the vast expanse of the cosmos. As humanity ventured further into space, establishing colonies on the Moon and Mars, the story of their bond served as a reminder of the interconnectedness of all life and the importance of compassion, even in the face of the unknown. Space stations and lunar settlements incorporated animal habitats, providing companionship and therapeutic benefits to astronauts and colonists far from home. Dogs, trained as emotional support animals and companions, became integral members of space exploration teams, their presence easing the challenges of isolation and confinement. The story of Emily and Shadow was even woven into the fabric of extraterrestrial exploration. As probes ventured into distant star systems, carrying the hopes and dreams of humanity, they also carried the story of the abused dog who found love and purpose, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the resilience of the human-animal bond. When contact was finally established with an advanced alien civilization, the story of Emily and Shadow was among the first cultural exchanges shared. The aliens, intrigued by the depth of emotion and the complexity of the human-animal relationship, marveled at the capacity for empathy and the unwavering loyalty depicted in their story. This exchange sparked a new era of intergalactic understanding, fostering a sense of shared values and a recognition of the interconnectedness of all life in the universe. The story of Emily and Shadow became a universal symbol of hope, reminding civilizations across the cosmos of the importance of compassion, resilience, and the enduring power of love. And so, the tale of the abused dog who found love and purpose transcended the boundaries of time, space, and species, its message echoing through the vast expanse of the universe, a beacon of light illuminating the path towards a more compassionate and harmonious existence for all beings.